Hello, marketers. Welcome to the new episode of Hashtag Marketers Lead Talk, a show for passionate marketers to listen and watch what industry stalwarts are having their take on various issues of sales, marketing, advertisement, and branding. An initiative of the Marketing Soul, a community of passionate marketers to learn, network, and grow. Today, we have Anibar Mukheti, Head Marketing Saint Gobain Gyprock, a seasoned marketer, a business leader, strategist, and an accomplished professional with 16 years of MNC experience in diverse leadership and strategic role in both marketing and sales, as well as technology domain. An excellent professional track record in area of marketing and brand activations, brand building, brand management, CRM, key account management, and he loves interaction on marketing and beyond. Welcome anyone on hashtag Marketers Lead Talk.
Thanks, Sachin. It's indeed a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Perfect, great. So today, khela hobe re?
Yeah, it's on. I think fourth phase is over, so there are four more phases.
Right, perfect,
The
perfect.
game is on.
Game is on. Perfect. Great. So
Yes.
let's start ours one. Seeking your inputs about the impact on the consumers, with respect to the COVID. So what has been the consumer behavior impact as of now? You must be, going through, or you have must have acknowledged that. So your thoughts on it.
Sure. So I'll address it from two angles. One angle is how consumers actually, when they faced COVID, how did they behave? What were the key behaviors? And specific to my industry, also, I'll give you some pointers. So I think in the first time in human history, this was unprecedented when people were stuck at home. Even in world wars, people were had the opportunity of going out. But this is the first time across the globe, two-thirds of humanity were stuck at home. So and when they were stuck at home, I think what happened was two things. One is they had to consume media because there were a lot of news floating around, a lot of uncertainty. So first and foremost, health and safety was of utmost priority. So they had to sort of take care of those aspects. People need to survive to consume. And the second part which was there was most of the people, I think predominantly most of the industries are not work from home. So overnight, people became work from home entities, and so they had to adapt to new technologies, etc. What also happened was while the TV consumption went up, the digital consumption also went up. People were spending as high as 4, 5, 6 hours on the digital media, and which basically led to a different type of consumption pattern. So because what happens is TV is more or less unidirectional in nature, but digital you have your choices, right? And the content had much more variety, so people were going to that. If you notice, I think OTT is something which picked up big time, because prior to pandemic, my understanding, it was a predominantly a metro phenomena. Post pandemic, it is now more widespread, more democratic. That's besides the point. In addition to that, I think people started exploring new modes to purchase because they had to consume. So starting with basic essentials, they started exploring online channels. If you look at how things change, some stats, first 2 months into the lockdown, e-commerce had 11% newcomers, new visitors. Okay, they have never explored e-commerce. That's one. Secondly, people who have explored new e-commerce, around 16%, one out of six, explored new categories. And now that is widespread. That number has now increased maybe to 30, 35, 40%, depending on the category. And categories which like grocery, etc., people, we never sort of could believe that people will not buy from physical store. But if you look at the uptick, something like a grocery, people are buying, a lot of it is being bought online. I think the brands also responded in a way. There are the concepts like skyrise marketing came into the picture when all the societies members got together, they pooled together the requirement, and then the retailers came came to their doorstep with the supply. So new modes of engagement came into the picture. If you look at consumer durables, generally e-commerce consumer durables very high offtake as far as online is concerned, but fashion, accessories, etc. was not there. There was a huge uptake. I think one thing which changed was online education. So people were hell bent previously on campus learnings, etc. So now I think this is going to stay. Okay, so online education, etc. So fundamentally, what I'm saying is there were new categories, and there were categories there was a huge offtake, and I don't think it will be reversed. So once people have experienced the convenience of buying online, that's going to stay. The other thing which also started happening was people were also looking for authentic brands, because in times of stress, you really look at authentic brands, but there were brands which were very opportunistic and claiming antiviral X, Y, Z, starting from you can consume to even switch on a fan to a light and something. How it happens, nobody knows. But so people actually saw through a lot of opportunistic brands. Parallelly, there were brands which opened up their hotels to COVID warriors, and they were genuinely like supportive, and they went beyond their so-called CSR budgets. So people noticed all those things. The other thing which started happening was also, if you notice, people have, first of all, we have realized that do we need to really consume so much? That's one, because we can manage with, I would say, a couple of pair or a couple of t-shirts and one pair of jeans and so on. Okay, do we really need so many things on our wardrobe? So which brings us to the point we have now started realizing, probably, and especially the millennials and the people who are even younger, they have started asking all these questions. Do we really need to consume so much? So environment and social capitalism consciousness, these are the things which are going to be of paramount importance. From a home decor perspective, which is our industry, Saint Gobain Jipra, and I think what we saw was people were stuck at home. I think there was one study by a reputed real estate consultant. First time in their lives, very busy couples, they spent so much time in their homes, and they found a lot of aesthetic issues in their homes. So they have done on the go a lot of stuff, and they realized, oh, it was not up to the mark. So from our side, what we saw was a lot of searches of our brand and category. It went up crazy. While there were no orders, because end of the day, physically there were restrictions, but people were searching. So the brands which were smarter, they came up with all the tools and the platforms to engage this audience, and then they leveraged that during the festive season, because the festive season, the pent-up demand, etc., came back in full force, and there was a lot of recovery. Now, unfortunately, we have phase two or COVID wave two. But I think these changes which happened, they are going to stay on. People are going to consume more and more online stuff. So predominantly brands of the future will have to look at hybrid models. It has to be omni-channel, in terms of you can't just rely only on a physical store. It has to be like I can buy in a physical store, get the product dropped at my home, or I can buy online, get it checked in a physical store, and so on. So that is how it looks like, and this is going to continue. The way we are going to learn is going to change. So we don't know really whether it is changed for the better or not. That time will tell. But I think still challenging times are ahead. Let's see.
Right. Yes, you are right. Since the second wave is around there, and lot many lockdowns and has been started up. So of course, it's a wait and watch would be a good situation to look forward to. Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. So, taking the discussion forward, would like to have your views on the media mix. So, know how I can ensure a maximizing reach of my product, and then probably I'll ask a follow up question on how we can do for a B2B and how we can do for B2C. So, first you can share about media mix as a common for maximizing reach.
So what I try to do is I'd rather bring the two aspects together, because it's like this.
Okay.
When you look at media per se, so you have to first take into consideration which category you are in. What is your product? Who is your target audience? What is the age group? What is the geography? Okay. And if it is B2C, is it mass? Is it luxury? Is it niche? And B2B has a different chain of, I would say, decision making. There is a bigger chain of influencers, maybe for us installers, architects or influencers, then somebody who is a client, then there is an occupant who occupies the space, and so on. That's how in real estate it happens. But as far as B2C is concerned, let's look at B2C. So I think it depends entirely on which segment you are in. So let me give you a few stats. So first of all, generally the notion nowadays is digital is picking up. बहुत digital campaign करते हैं. So I don't think we should look at as marketers, we should look at it from that angle. Let's look at a few stats. If you look at India, 2015 TAM data tells us around 170 to 180 million households in India having TV, which translates into an 800 to 850 million TV audience. Now let's look at Comscore 2020 data. unique digital audience in India is 405 million, which is half. So TV is going to give you a significantly bigger reach as opposed to digital. Of course, so now why digital? There are other aspects to it. So in digital, you can have better control over what you do. You can have much more robust metrics. You have far greater control in terms of changing your strategies, understanding and correcting your strategies mid-course, which probably is difficult to with a TV, which is more unidirectional in nature. But if you look at platforms also, if you look at individual platforms in digital, you look at something like a YouTube or a WhatsApp, 300 to 330 million sort of an audience. Okay, that's max. Okay. And then in Facebook also around a 300 million audience. Rest all are 50, 100 million sort of things like I would say Chingaris of the world, which came up when TikTok had fallen down, or a shared chat or something of that sort. So that's one aspect. The other aspect to look at it, if you look at how the media industry has been progressing, if you look at advertising spends, so that's a good indicator of who is spending where. That gives you the trend. So, and I am quoting something which I read in Dentsu. Dentsu publishes this report. So the industry, if I look at 2020 versus 2019, 2019 was around 68,000 crore advertising revenues. It fell by 17% to 56,000 odd crores. So minus 17.5%. But if you look at TV in 2019 versus 2020, TV went up from TV actually declined by 11%. But as a contribution from 39% moved up to 41% of that 56,000 crore revenue. Digital, despite the headwinds, grew by 15% in 2020. And digital from 20% moved up to 28%. Print went down from 29 to 25%. So print actually, for reasons we all of us know, newspapers got halted. Many of the, we know, I am from Bombay, the Mumbai Mirror thing, they can't publish it now for 7 days or something of that sort. So a lot of publications closed down, but they're going online. Okay, so now that's becoming digital, because that's how people are going to consume. Okay, so this is the construct of the industry. I think what is very, very important to note is, while so people say digital sab kuch overpower kar dega, it's not true. To be very honest, if you look at next 4-5 years projection, 2 years projection lete hai, so the industry is going to grow at 11%. So TV will be in and around contribution wise 40%. Digital will move from this 28 to 33, 34%. So digital will grow at twice the pace, 22, 23%, that sort of. So by 2025, probably they will be equal. It's not that it will be wiped away. That's one way of looking at it. Now let's look at, because you say media mix and reach. So let's look at a category like e-com. Okay. So when you look at e-com, our understanding is the entire platform is digital. But are you aware that they spend their 45% spends are in TV and 39% spends are in digital. So they also need TV to reach to their audience. And then around 14% is in, I would say, in print. Vis-a-vis, look at FMCG. FMCG is more mass. Okay, a sabun or a talcum powder or a biscuit, it has to go to the hinterland. So 64% is in TV. Okay, and digital is not small, but it's 19%. So it depends on which industry you are in. Parallelly, if you look at telecom, very evenly balanced, 50% in TV, 40% in digital. Okay, and if you look at banking, I think that's the biggest spend as a sector. 57% of their spend is in digital. Okay, so that's how retail, around, I think 45-46% is in print, because if there is a Toyota showroom, they will always put up these ads, this car and this and that. That is how it has been, and that is how they have defined their reach. So it entirely depends on which segment you are in, who is your audience, which platform your audience goes into, and what type of message do you want to give them. Basis that, you have to define your media mix. There is no hard and fast rule, and you can't just say somebody else is doing digital or print, I will also do that. And it's continuously evolving. So that's my take on how the media landscape looks like.
Right. I think yes, because the shift is of course towards digital, but we all love reading newspapers, love taking up, moving out of the home and then seeing around the things. So of course, yes, probably this is going to be the way forward, as you are rightly suggesting about. So again, now let's little bit discussion around performance marketing. Is it a jargon, or what is it real into it? The deep down aspect of your take.
So see, to be very honest, I had been a marketer now for more than a decade, hardcore marketing. I have not done anything without a performance aspect to it. So you need not name it performance and all those things, but end of the day, whenever you do a campaign, what is the purpose? There has to be a purpose. There has to be a brand score. You are looking at a brand score or something like a brand recall, something like a category discovery, something like you want to sell something, cross-selling, upselling, or something of that sort. Okay, you're giving discount. So nothing without performance. I think in corporate, everything is about performance. Okay, so to me, it's a jargon. I think where at times we are going wrong is, I'll tell you, we are mixing a lot of things. So, and this, I quote a gentleman called Mark Ritson, whom I follow. He is one of the, he's a marketing guru and a professor, and he's also a consultant. So he speaks about, if you look at overall marketing landscape, you can consider three concentric circles. So the inner circle is basically your, it's called the marketing orientation circle, which basically means who is your customer, what is the profile of your customer, as simple as that, and what product do you have to offer. The second band, which is the second concentric circle, is the strategic band, which fundamentally is about segmentation, targeting, positioning. Which is the strategy, which is the segment, and is it meaty enough for you, and how do you target it, and what's your positioning. And the third band is the tactical band, which is the outermost circle, which actually, if we consider that the three bands are rotating, that's the fastest moving. Okay, and that's the tactical band, and the tactical band has all this technology, all these what we call martech, all this content marketing, all those things. What is happening is we are at times probably confusing all these things, this martech thing and this technology, and targeting 1,000 ads to 1,000 different customers as marketing. The core of marketing remains same. You have to understand your customers, you have to have a value proposition for them, and then you have to do this segmentation, targeting, position. And these are all tools available at your disposal and platforms available at your disposal, which you need to deploy. So fundamentally, I believe that these are all jargons, to be very honest. No marketer does campaigns without a performance metrics. Okay, and if there is a performance metrics, performance is there, it's inbuilt. Without performance, then it's not market. Then that marketer will lose his or her job very soon, because there is no, you are not able to measure the impact, right? So it's a jargon as far as I'm concerned.
That's perfect. So as per anyone, you have to ensure whatever your campaign's objectives are, prepare it from the ROI aspect and then move it, take it forward. Great.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Great. So making it a broader aspect, marketing, 2021, not that, next 10 years, what is your thought process on a bigger aspect of marketing, how it will be looking like, how me or you would be functioning after 10 years, something like that.
Right. So I think if I look at how the landscape is going to look like, fundamentally, if you go back a decade, even 20 years or a decade, TV, print, these were the go-to mediums. And these mediums predominantly are unidirectional in terms of nature, in terms of messaging. So you print something, you put an ad, there is no live response to it, right? So there is a difference between a group theater and you go to a multiplex and watch a movie, right? So group theater is far more difficult. So digital marketing is like group theater. If there is a live audience, immediate there is a response whistling. But the big Bollywood stars, they don't get to see it. After the first weekend, they get to know what is the performance of their movies. Okay, of course, they can go to the movie hall and see the response, but they don't get to see it live. So unidirectional messaging to multi-directional messaging with digital coming in. And last 7-8 years, thanks to our data charges going low, I think digital marketing is proliferated. And as I told you, 22% is the quantum of growth. If I look at advertising, that shows the jump that's going to happen. So broadly, the play will happen across two domains fundamentally. One will be content and the other will be martech. So when I look at everything will be revolving around that. So let me elaborate on that. The first pillar will be content. So when I look at content, first of all, current generation, even not current generation, I am not exactly the current generation. So our patience levels have gone down. So if you look at attention span, less than a goldfish, so sometimes it's 8 seconds, 7 seconds, 5 seconds. So fundamentally what is happening is, be it a graphical format, be it a video format, be it an article, I think people will look at snackable or small, I think, packages in terms of content pieces. Okay, so snackable pieces is bite-sized pieces is what they're going to talk about. So even if you read something, instead of drab paragraphs, people would like infographics, people would like imagery and all those sort of stuff. And videos, we know 5 seconds, 6 seconds. We have these unskippable ads on YouTube and so on and so forth. That's one. So, and video is going to be big. That's one. And the other big aspect which is going to be there, which everyone with a mobile phone is a creator. Okay, you can create your own videos. So I will come to that. The second part, which is very, very important, is previously what you knew, there is TV, there is newspaper. You have to put an ad in a newspaper. You know the dimension. You play to that dimension, half page, quarter page, and this and that, flap, and all these things. Now you have to look at what is the device. So it's a vertical scale, mobile. Now in that device, what is the platform? Is it a Facebook? Is it a YouTube? Is it LinkedIn? And basis that you have to curate and create your content. So you have to understand all those platforms. It's not you just understand one media and you just blast it. You have to understand those, and you have to understand those mediums. Depending on social media is a very broad term. Instagram has a different audience. YouTube has a different audience. So basis that audience, proclivity of that audience, you have to design your content. So that's the second thing. So I think various types of content pieces will come. A third thing is you can be a great writer, writing great prose, but nobody will read it. So you have to understand the SEO and all those aspects. So life is very difficult, to be very honest. You have to understand keyword. Google mein search hoga ki nahi hoga. So that's another aspect. So fundamentally, if you look at marketers, the life is not easy. You have to now understand not only the creative pieces, you have to understand the platforms, you have to understand tech. You can't be blind to tech. Second part, which I'm going to talk about, of course, I'll come to content. Second part is the MarTech piece, which is basically the ARs and VRs. Because now, see, when this pandemic happened, today it is difficult for me to go to consumer homes and do all these mapping and all those things, measurement, this and that. Can we do a virtual platform? And you did. Can we give them designs which are virtual and which are basically they can walk through? And it will look like exactly how it should look like in their homes. Okay, they can just point the camera and they can see how it looks like. So these are the technologies which is going to facilitate the journey of the consumers. That's one part. Second part is the data piece in the MarTech, which is basically the personalization. So you can now target Sachin Juneja likes ice cream, likes a particular flavor of ice cream. So just flash that ad. It's not only a vanilla while you like a butterscotch. So that's, which also brings to the question of privacy. Okay, now every platform has started blocking data, and even Indian government is also doing regular. So now you have to start owning your data. Okay, you have to start owning your data. You can't just go to third party and all those things. That's another trend which is coming. So how we will target, you have to be on the top of your game, and you have to now really start creating value for your customers. And that you can do only you have a community. So now you have to create a community. That's the next piece. Okay, so community is something which is going to help you reach out to that. And once you get a community, it's very important. Now people are looking at authenticity, authentic content. So again, finally, it boils down to content. Now, user-generated content is far, far more authentic than anything. In my industry, it's like this. If one person has done a false ceiling, they will talk to 10 other person. That is how the category proliferates. It does not proliferate only through ad. Somebody has to see it to believe it. They have to experience it. Then they talk about it. They will flash a video. And so we as a brand, and many brands, if you look at it, they actually, and people are willing to nowadays with the camera, with social media, they're willing to talk about it. So user-generated content is going to be big. In fact, some brands are saying going forward, more than 50-60% of what all content will be generated by users. We don't want to do anything because that's far more authentic. If we create, it is not authentic. So that's the trend. The other thing in the content piece is very, very important is basically the vernacularization. So I was reading something interesting. Top 10 million websites. There was this study. Out of top 10 million websites, 64% of those websites, the content is in English, while globally 84% population are non-English speakers. So only 16% speak English, but 64% of the top websites have English content, which shows the gap and which shows the scope. And in a country like India, YouTube data is 95% of videos are basically regional in nature. So people consume regional content, which actually means one is vernacularization, which is very, very important in a country like India over the next course. And the second part is in vernacularization, it's not about translations. You look at it, we create an ad somewhere sitting in some studio in Bombay, and then maybe that fellow is a Bengali but has never lived in Bengal, and the translation is horrible. Okay, or in Tamil. Okay, so you have to now look at go beyond translations. You have to go to transcriptions. You have to understand the nuances of the language if you have to create content. So, and there are some companies who are working towards it. Otherwise, it's a very, very shoddy job and people will not relate to it. Okay, that's one. It's not about voiceover and you get a southern model or a northern model and they will just relate to that. It's not, it's beyond that. People like authentic content, and this is something is important. And that's where probably voice will come into the picture, because in India, if you look at it, people will not get into all those things. So I think somewhere I was reading now, more than 20, in fact 28% searches are happening in voice. Just people are putting the phone and just so that is agnostic of your pronunciation or something, right? So I think voice vernacular. So fundamentally it's about content, it's about technology, it's about community, it's about vernacularization. These are some of the trends which I look at. And two questions which actually bugs me. One is quality more important or quantity more important? Because when you talk about, you spoke about performance marketing, you are bombarded with content every day. 6,000 to 10,000 ads you are bombarded with. Is anything sticking? So is at all, do you remember all those things? Even as of now, if I go back to my favorite ads, they're old. Okay, very few are new, because nothing sticks with so much of exposure. So I think, what are you getting out of this quantity? That's one. Second question is, are you in the business of creating brands, or are you in the business of temporarily acquiring customers? You have funds, you spend, then again you vanish, then again you have funds, you spend, or you are actually creating. So I think you have to, as marketers, customer experience, touch points, the customer journey, I think these things, we need to be top of things. Only then, if you are able to make those interventions, then the customers will be there for you and the brand will stick. Otherwise it will not stick. So that's how I look at the journey. So these are the broad ways of approaching, I think, the next decade.
That's so perfectly mentioned. In fact, I'm quite influenced with your thought about creating the customer journey mapping and all that. Whether it's a one-time brand investment or it's a whole-time affair, and that's how the marketing or a marketer should look around it. So many thanks for this elaborated answer. So taking it forward, as you mentioned, things are changing. So I'm sure the role of CMO would be the talk of the town now. So what is your thought? What are your thoughts on it?
So I think I have a very mixed way of looking at things. So because I have worked ground up, I've been in sales roles, moved to marketing, and that actually, so that I appreciate the other side also. So it's like this: while you can do a great campaign, if you don't have the right type of ammunition on ground, you have not equipped your sales team with the right type of, I would say, the sales pitches, etc., or you have not given them enough ammunition to go to the market, given them in the right direction, nothing will happen. So, so I think that this thought process. So I'll approach it in this way. If you look at a CMO role, I think the CMO has a best view of the industry and the organization. First of all, they have the best view of the customer. They are the people who do all the research. They understand the customer better than anyone else. They should. If they're not, then they should make an attempt to understand the customer at much greater detail. And for our businesses, like, which are far more complicated with multiple stakeholders, there's a dealer, there's a consumer, there's an installer, there's an influencer, there's this and that. You need to understand each and every aspect of the business and what actually is the trigger for each and every. That's one. I think with that type of view, it's important that they approach it more holistically. Okay. So at times what happens is a CMO, in fact, there are some brands globally, couple of years back, all of a sudden the CMO profile got started getting banished. Now, so I don't want to name those brands. Now, all of a sudden that CMO position has come back, because a CMO position is a very, very strategic position. It's not a extended brand manager position. Somebody told me in a very senior person that some of the CMOs at times behaves like extended brand managers. They are brand managers. They have become glorified, bigger brand managers. Okay. You are strategists. I think that is something we need to keep in mind. And the course, the direction, so new category, new markets, all these things need to be ideated, need to be debated, needs to be understood, new customer segments. This is the job of the CMO to tell the company and accordingly strategize. Only then people will start valuing. And they are the people who can actually, they understand the customer journey map, as I said, the best. So, and that customer journey map, the delivery across various touch points and at various stages requires multiple departments in our organization. So they are the single thread who can tie the customer journey. Okay. So all the other functions can rally around a successful organization has, and then final customer experience. That is how it's not a campaign specific role. Okay, so that is how I look at it.
That's right. That's right. Over to coming to the last leg of our conversation. A
Sure.
quick tips from your side on the skills required to be a great marketer.
I think any good marketeer, I don't know because I have not achieved greatness. I would like to believe, so I have still some
At
distance
least
to
from
go.
your experience.
Yeah. So what I feel is, I think one needs to be a very good observer. One needs to spend time with customers. I think really understanding customers is not, and it don't just leave it to your market research agency for with a survey. Okay, that's mass. That can also be, I would say, manipulated in the sense the person who gave interview in the morning to a detergent powder will talk about mobile phone in the evening. The same person. Okay. So I think it's important that marketers also accompany the agencies, go to the ground, understand not only the customer, but also the various stakeholders who are delivering the experience to a customer. There is a store from which the customer buys. How does the store function? There is a supply chain which is going. How does it? So that's why. So I say it's a strategic position. You need to understand, and each and every point you need to understand who is making money, what is the trigger, what is the lever. So I think if somebody understands this whole chain, then it's will not restrict ourselves to a campaign and leave it to God, because you have control over the entire chain. And when you understand the entire chain, then you have the right interventions designed across the chain, and the customer it's a win-win for the brand and the customer. So that is how I look at it. So I think one is definitely observation skills, ability to execute, understand the entire chain, and continuous learning. So and unlearning also, because I think the rate at which the platforms, the technology, etc., are changing is like I think it's unbelievable. It's a far more difficult job as opposed to what people used to do 2 decades back, with all these data science things and all these things coming into the picture. And there is also what is happening is a plethora of data. How do you make sense out of it? That's also very, very important. So that also is an art, making sense of of data and getting insights. So people have a lot of information. Do you have insights and actionable insights? I think that is what separates a good marketer from an ordinary marketer.
Perfect. With this, we are about to wrap up the session, but before that, we have our lovingly fireside round where we ask our expert to describe the answer only in the one word. So here it goes
Okay.
for you, Anubhav. If you could live anywhere, where it would be?
India.
Oh, I know previously from so many the conversation that I had. So you're the first one who has said this in India. So that's amazing out there. So everyone
Most
has their own
exciting
thoughts.
country now. It's the most exciting country.
Yes, you're right. So,
Every 15 20 15 20 kilometers you will find different food, different dialects. It's a wonderful country.
absolutely,
India,
so much of
definitely.
diversity. That's right. That's right. Your happy moment.
Yes, yes, yes.
Your happy
So
moment.
I think if the customer is happy, when I see happiness in the eyes of the customer after whatever we have done, maybe we have provided a service or a product or an experience, that itself actually is very, very fulfilling. So happy moment is customer is happy, we are also happy.
Okay. Okay. One thing you cannot live about.
I think mobile phone.
Okay. Okay.
I
Your
can't
me
live without a
time.
mobile phone.
Okay. Okay. Your me time.
Me time, I think two things: reading and meditation.
Do you meditate?
Yes, yes, yes.
Perfect. So, marketers, please focus on this aspect also, because that's too much required. In fact, about your mental health and mental well-being and the balancing around it. And the last, Anirban, is for you, marketing is
Passion.
passion. Perfect. Um, uh, this cannot be a better ending to the show. No, ending the last one as a passion one. So perfectly so great. Many, many thanks, Anirban, for being with us on this show. And it's been an amazing experience, talking to you, understanding the deep aspects of what actually marketing is and how it is going to be way forward. And I'm sure it's going to have a lot of learning for the community members. Thank you so much, Anirban.
It was a great experience talking to you, Sachin, and all the best for your initiative, the Marketing Soul.
Great.
And I wish you good luck. May you get more and more followers, and really good effort and much needed.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
it was indeed a pleasure on my part to
Perfect.
participate.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Anban, for being with us in the show.
Have a great day. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you.